Tyndale Audio presents Silenced, the Wrath of God Descends by Jerry Jenkins. Narrated by Steve Sever. What's Gone Before. After the Third World War, a holy war that resulted in the destruction of entire nations, anti-religion, anti-war factions toppled nearly every head of state, and an international government rose from the ashes and mud. The United States was redrawn into 7 regions. The president was deposed, and the vice president was installed as regional governor, reporting to the International Government of Peace in Bern, Switzerland. When he completed his graduate studies, Dr. Paul Stepola dreamed of a corporate job. But when his Ph.D. in religious studies didn't open those doors, his wife, Jay, urged him to pursue the NPO. Jay's father, Ranald B. DeCenti, a retired war general, had helped build the National Peace Organization from the ashes of the FBI and the CIA after World War III. Like the CIA, the NPO is a foreign intelligence force, though a skeletal one, since in the post-war world the United Nations oversaw global peacekeeping. And like the FBI, it handles interstate crimes, which these days were as likely to be international, such as fraud, racketeering, terrorism, and drug trafficking. Paul trained at Langley, Virginia, then spent his first few years in Chicago on the racketeering squad, where surprisingly his graduate work found purchase. Studying the world's major religions had introduced him to a broad range of cultures, background that proved invaluable when investigations drew him or his colleagues overseas. When the NPO initiates a new task force, Zealot Underground, to expose and eliminate religious influence in the USSA, Chicago NPO Bureau Chief Bob Kuntz taps Paul to provide intelligence and analysis of the religious underground. Paul leaps at the opportunity. Becoming a key member of Zealot Underground, Paul becomes enmeshed in the NPO's covert operations for the NPO. He is the decorated sole survivor of a raid on a small house church in San Francisco, where he shoots and kills the leader, a widow. In a Texas investigation of oil well sabotage, he witnesses the stoning to death of an underground Christian. In a subsequent oil field fire, Paul loses his sight. While recovering and contemplating the possibility of never seeing again, Paul meets Stuart Straight-Wraith, a volunteer at the hospital. Paul asks for the New Testament on disc so he can brush up on the beliefs of his targets in case he is ever able to work again. The combination of his exposure to the New Testament and to Straight, a secret believer, leads to Paul's dramatic conversion and the restoration of his sight. Paul cannot tell Jay, fearing she will tell her father and expose him to a death penalty. Straight introduces Paul to the leaders of the Christian underground, one of whom challenges Paul to become a double agent, staying in the NPO while secretly aiding the resistance. Paul is able to appear committed to the NPO by arresting phony people of faith. Then the NPO calls his father-in-law out of retirement to head special projects, and he presses Paul into service for a major thrust against the Christian underground in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, where Paul and Ranald are staying at the opulent estate of movie mogul Tony Alindo, Paul must appear loyal to the NPO while secretly warning underground Christian groups about the operation led by top agent Bia Balaam. One of the underground groups distributes a manifesto calling believers to ask God to prove himself by drying up the Los Angeles water supply unless the extermination of Christians stops. Rather than be intimidated, Ranald and his special forces plan a massive strike that will wipe out the LA Underground. Jay arrives in Los Angeles, further complicating Paul's double agency, and settles in with Paul.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?